There we go. And we are live. Good morning, everybody. And as always, it's such a privilege to welcome you here in our virtual auditorium. Myself, Kobus Oosthuizen, Dean of the Business School, and Dr. Jane Usher, Head of Department and MBA Director, for us to have you this morning. And we have some special guests a little bit later, two esteemed and valued alumni that will share a bit about their experience that they had with our MBA and so forth. Colleagues, thank you for making the time, and we welcome you each into our individual homes where we are at. I will open up and welcome everybody and just give a brief introduction of Milpark and so forth, and then I will hand over to my esteemed colleague, Dr. Jane, to take you through more of the detail. So without any further ado, let's get going here on the 307th day since we've started with this lockdown business. But we're all energized, we're optimistic, and our mantra of tomorrow is beautiful is what we live by. So colleagues, for today, we're going to look at an overview of the school, and then we will drill down into more specifics about the program, admission requirements, and so forth. Also have a look at the curriculum and share a few thoughts around our distance learning online platform, which we are very, very proud of and what we've achieved there. And of course, then one of the highlight of today, in a way, is to hear from our alumni in relation to their experiences and so forth. So let me start off by just giving you a backdrop, a snapshot of Milpark. Starting at the parent institutional level, we are a private higher education institution that have been around for more than 20 years already. So, we've earned our stripes. We have also obviously learned a lot over this period of time in creating what we believe one of the best learning experiences for our students who join us and make us their partner in the next stage of their development and growth. So we've got a number of qualifications that vary from the NQF level 5 right up to the NQF level 10 at the doctorate level, with our contact campus being in Claremont in Johannesburg and our head office campus in Claremont in Cape Town. Sorry, did I now say Claremont, Johannesburg? I mean Melville, Johannesburg, forgive me, and then Claremont in Cape Town, as well as an administrative satellite campus in Durban. Now, just to give you a snapshot of what we look like from the total institution's perspective, within Milpark Education, there are 5 schools, and today we are focusing on the business school, but very briefly, there's also the School of Commerce, where all the undergraduate qualifications reside and where they're housed. The bachelor's in commerce, the bachelor's in business administration, high certificates, and so forth. So your NQF level 5 up to NQF level 7 qualifications, the undergrad qualifications, all in the School of Commerce, which also is here in Melville campus in Johannesburg. There's the School of Financial Planning and Insurance, with emphasis and focus on the financial onto the insurance industry, with the highest qualification there going up to a postgraduate diploma in financial planning and insurance. We have the School of Investment and Banking, also very niched, with qualifications aimed at the banking sector. And of course, our further education and training college, which we call Milpark Education College. So that's just a snapshot of what the institution looks like. And if we now proceed a little further onto the next slide in looking at what our offerings are that you consider, starting with the NQF level 10 Doctor of Business Administration, the DBA, which we launched in 2019, and it's also going extremely well with that particular qualification. And then, of course, our crown jewel, the MBA, and the postgraduate diploma in business administration, as well as postgraduate diploma in public administration, which we've launched this year. There's the postgraduate diploma in investment management and the postgraduate diploma in banking. So you can see the emphasis is postgraduate. And then, of course, like any other business school worth its salt, we have an education, executive education department or division, which then enables us for provision of interventions, developmental interventions with corporates and with the public sector and so forth. And of course, there's also a whole host of short courses, and full-time faculty, part-time faculty also devote a lot of time to consulting, because the interface between the business school and industry is of utmost importance. So via that channel is where we spend time with industry. But I believe it's important for you also to get a sense of what it is that we get up to in the morning. What is our ethos? What is our reason for being? And if you can align yourself and associate yourself with this paradigm, you are the person that we would want on our journey of making tomorrow beautiful. So we, simply stated, enable or empower future leaders to pursue ethical and sustainable business practices which are informed by the Sustainable Development Goals. And this particular vision is built on the ancient Greek term phronesis, which was a term that comes from Aristotle, and it means practical wisdom. So it emphasizes not only the development of great leaders, but leaders for the common good. Now, there are very key words in here. Maybe you want to reflect on this later on. You can even go and do a bit of desktop Google or research on these phrases, on practical wisdom, because wisdom is one thing. One can be wise, but how does that translate to making a difference? Pragmatic, praxis, got to be practical. So the hashtag common good is also then something that we have on our dashboard that kind of orientates our thinking and our reasoning. On the awards and memberships, our badges, as they would say. Of course, the AMBER accreditation is the one that we are extremely proud of. And an important thing to note is that we are the only business school on the continent of Africa whose MBA for contact learning and for online learning are both AMBER accredited. And we're very, very proud of that. So something for you to consider. So globally, there are not many online MBAs that are accredited. And, we are one of those in the world, very few in the world at present, whose online MBA is also AMBER accredited. Then, colleagues, we are also a member of the Association of African Business Schools. We're just over 50 business schools on the continent that really drive the agenda of our continent as far as management education is concerned. We're a member of the South African Business Schools Association. I've also had the privilege previously to serve as one of the vice chairmen of the association, where we deliberate, again, from a management education perspective, the local context and management education in South Africa. So amidst the fact that there's competition, there are definitively matters in which we also closely collaborate and cooperate. Now, having an interface with industry is, as I said earlier on, very important for us. So we're a member also of the Johannesburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry, with whom we are also closely related, and via the very broad network of members associated there. We're a member of the Business Graduates Association as well, which is a sister institution to AMBER, which also includes undergraduate institutions and other universities, a global body. We're a member of the Responsible Research in Business Management initiative. And why are we showing the PMR Africa year? Every year they do a survey with employers in South Africa on 19 criteria that measures business schools providing the MBA and how they then they fare, they get rated, and the schools then get ranked. And we're also very proud that in the 2020 ranking, Milpark Business School achieved second position overall in South Africa. Now, the last one at the bottom right of your screen, Prime or Principles of Responsible Management Education. We are a signatory along with many other business schools and higher education institutions across the world, where we've committed ourselves to 6 principles, and I invite you to go and have a look at their website, what it's all about. And every 2 years, we also submit a report to Prime, which is an initiative by the United Nations Compact, where we demonstrate the progress that we have made since our previous report in relation to those 6 principles. And I invite you to go and have a look at those. So that's just a little bit about bragging on our badges. If we now delve a little deeper into more detail on the program itself, and it's my pleasure now to hand you over to my colleague, Dr. Jane Usher. Jane, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kobus, and welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this rather overcast day in Johannesburg, which is a relief because we are getting a fair amount of rain, so that is very welcome. And welcome to everybody. I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty in terms of what do you need to gain admission to both the postgraduate diploma in business administration, the PGDIP as we refer to it with all these acronyms, and then the masters in business administration. And when I go through, I'm going to do them in parallel, you will see that there are some areas that overlap and therefore help you in terms of a longer term learning journey from your postgrad through to your MBA to be successful in both, and then you are able then to move on to your doctorate as well. So everybody needs reliable broadband internet access. You need to have that because you will be going online, whether you're contact learning or distance learning online. And contact learning, obviously, at the moment is done in a slightly different way, and we'll speak about that later. But you need to have a computer and you need to have some internet and computer literacy that you can navigate and research and then have that connectivity in order to be able to access your course pages and information there. So for the postgrad, to have your ticket to get in, you need to have a recognized bachelor's degree or an equivalent. So that would exit on our national qualifications framework at NQF level 7. So once you've done your undergraduate, you would then have access into the PGD. You need to have or be proficient in English because the qualification is offered in English and examined in English. So that's why you need to be able to converse and communicate in English. And we have a Milpark, well, it's an assessment, call it a test. It's not, you can't pass or fail. It's to see where your good points are and your weak points and where you can work on. And you need to achieve an acceptable rating in this assessment. And just to point out, for those of you who are still wanting to apply for admission for either your postgrad or your MBA, that you are here today and you're being part of the conversation, Milpark will sponsor that assessment for you if you register now for this semester coming up. So we want you to get moving with your learning journey, and so we are appealing to you, as while many things have been disrupted by COVID, you know, we would encourage you to keep on with your learning so that that can be a golden thread going through, and once things start calming down, you've already moved quite far forward in terms of your learning, and then that can equate to different things in careers and your life journey. So that is what you need for the postgrad. For your masters, you need to have a recognized honors degree or postgraduate diploma, and that would be our PGDIP or another PG postgrad, that is on NQF level 8, because you are moving up a level and you're going into 9. Again, you need to be proficient in English, and you would do the same, and it is the same assessment that you would do, that TTS, we call it TTS, it's a Milpark assessment where we have a look at how you're going to do. And again, for people wanting to move straight into the MBA, we would help you with that now, and we would sponsor you for that now. Now, for the MBA, you need to be 25 years or older, a minimum of 4 years relevant work experience. We need to see a copy of your CV to see what you've done. And we'd like to have a 1-page essay, only 1 page, motivating why you want to do your MBA, because that is a very big part of how successful you will be. Because if you're doing it from an intrinsic value, an inside value, you want to better yourself to know more so that you can do more things. That is what we are looking for. If you only want it for a piece of paper, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to do, because your motivation is slightly different. So that's why we want to see your motivation, and then have an interview with the program manager. And that is for them to explain the program even in more depth, to inquire from you how you would plan your studies, what support you have, what you may need, and for you to get a sense of what we are doing, and for them to get a sense of your commitment and how they can help you to ensure that you are successful on the program. Just to make a note, once you have done your assessment test on your postgrad and you move on to the MBA within 2 years, you don't need to redo that assessment test, because we do have it. So that's your ticket to get in to these 2 qualifications. I'm going to focus back again onto the postgrad, and there you will see we've got different colors for some of the subjects or modules there. And this is because there are 4 subjects that are common to both qualifications, because they are on NQF level 8. And this gives postgrad people the gateway into the MBA, and therefore you have already done 4 subjects on your MBA. So you're well on your way to achieving your MBA. For the postgrad, you would do a general management environment, and that gives you a solid grounding on all the management aspects, from HR to finance to marketing to operations and technology. What do you need to have in place to make sure your business can work in terms of the management environment? Business ethics and corporate governance, very important. In this day and age, ethics in business is important, as we've seen, and corporate governance to ensure that ethics and the compliance thereof and the spirit of corporate governance needs to be understood, and how do you apply that? Then we have social responsibility and environmental management. Again, 2 important components here that relate directly to the SDGs that we are aligned with in terms of our vision. How do you ensure, as an ethical business leader, that your environmental practice is good, that you understand what needs to be done, and that you can influence and make a difference there? And social responsibility is where you then need to, as a group, find a specific charity, you work with that charity, and there you start consulting to them, because that is what a lot of our students want to do. You want to be able to consult to business, and this is where you start doing that to enable them to be more effective and efficient in their operations. And it's the second part of that is a group. You do group work, which is one of the elements within the MBA that is very important to learn and to hone your skills of working in a group and leading in a group, and how do you work together. So then you do a really good presentation to a panel of experts who are in those fields, and they evaluate your plan for that charity. And there is a cash prize for the charity, unfortunately not for the students, but for the charity, so that they can move on. So the best student presentation and report then translates into your charity being rewarded, and they can make a few changes with the money that you've managed to bring in to them. Those modules are across both qualifications. Then the one that's in red, and I don't mean to alarm you that it's in red, we just need to highlight the fact that for management, accounting, and finance, if you have not studied financial management and you perhaps haven't done an undergrad of a BCom, and you don't work in accounts or a financial management area, it would be fairly difficult for you, or more difficult for you, to be successful in this module. So we require you to do an introduction to financial management course. It is an online course, and it gets you to understand the basic terminologies and foundations and how things start working. And you need to do that before you are allowed to register for management accounting. Then after that, you do design thinking and problem solving, which is a really interesting and dynamic module that is happening, and concepts that you would explore here. It's done with the human aspect and perspective. And so if you're designing a service or a solution for someone, it takes into account the humanness of people who would be receiving that. So you look at it from that point of view. And obviously there are challenges and problems that you in your group need to solve. And again, it's a presentation that you do to a panel. So from the get-go, you are consulting, you're presenting, and you're honing those skills that are really required in business today, where you need to present to management, your excos, your clients, people like that. We also have strategic management, that in a business environment, you need to understand what strategy is and isn't, how you go about doing it, and the steps that you would take to implement your strategy. Research methodology is also very important. And here you'll see there's a fairly strong importance placed on research throughout both qualifications, because we want you to be able to research effectively for your assignments, to make sure that the data that you get is valid, that you know where to look and how to look for the best data that is going to support any argument you put forward. So this stands you in good stead for your academic work as well as for business, because when you need to go and do research within your organization or your environment and your industry, you need to make sure that what you bring back and present to your management is valid and you can vouch for that. And that's what we teach you there. So, or that's what you learn there. We don't teach you, we facilitate that learning. So that is your postgrad in a nutshell. You've got 7 modules, you're done, and that should take you a year. We have changed our mode of delivery, and it is working very well, where you basically do 2 modules in a 10-week cycle. And that enables you to move along, you go in depth, and it's not onerous, and you can focus on those 2 modules that you are currently doing. Then you graduate with that, and you're now wanting to move on to your MBA. So those of you who have come from our postgrad would automatically get the exemptions for those first 4, for those modules that you see up there in gray and then the red one. If you are coming directly onto the MBA because you already have a postgrad or honors, you then would do general management environment, business ethics, social responsibility, and then you start with your MBA, the actual MBA subjects as well, which is business report writing, stats, and presentation skills. And that then hones your business report writing skills. It helps you navigate the academic writing in your business report writing, gives you an introduction to quantitative analysis, which you may need for your dissertation, or you may need it at work as well. And again, presentation skills. We start focusing on what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, and letting you practice those skills. Advanced research methodology is your basis for your dissertation, and it gives you an in-depth understanding of how to do research, the differences between the types of research that you would be doing, and you start honing in on a topic for your dissertation. There as well, we encourage you to keep your research close to your business environment so that you can add value to your organization directly. If you're going to do your research in the organization, so that they benefit directly from there, or a slightly wider aspect. And again, it needs to be hopefully related to the SDGs, as our focus on research and our vision and mission is to do with helping get closer towards the SDGs, that we should have all reached the goals by 2030. Quite an audacious goal, that. Then we do people management, because you need to know how to work through people. It's very important now in the situation that we're at, where you start learning how to really work with people, because there's one thing being in the office, but to work virtually and to keep the communication, the camaraderie up, and the effective and efficiency up is something you need to take into account. Operations and technology management, how do you use technology to ensure that your business operations are seamless and effective and efficient? And we give you those models to work through. Just in this a point here that I want to make is, all the work that you do, it's practical. We won't give you a theoretical question to go and answer. You need to understand the theory, but it's deeper understanding. You need to be able to apply that theory in good practice in your working environment directly. And there are some aspects where you're thinking, well, theory is not going to help me. And when you apply it, it may help you, or you modify it. So it's hands-on, relevant applications that we are wanting in your assessments and in your whole journey. Marketing and sales management, very important. You need to be able to show that who you are, and then to sell. Because if you don't have customers, your business may not be doing too well. So we look at strategic marketing plans, obviously taking into account social, digital, what is happening now, the movements now, and that then relates to your sales. Your second year in your MBA, when you start directly with the MBA, you would then be doing your management, accounting and finance part 1. And again, if you've moved straight into the MBA and you haven't had exposure before on financial management, you would need to have done that short course beforehand. However, this is slotted in basically in your MBA now. If you've come from your postgrad, you've done this. You move into leadership and change as well. And here, I think, again, it's very apparent how important leadership is now. It's always been important, and now we are seeing the importance of leadership and the crisis from a global perspective on leaders, world leaders, country leaders, and local, everywhere, and in business leaders. And what are we looking for in a leader, and how are you a leader and a change agent, no matter where you are in the hierarchy, whether you a middle manager, senior manager, or you are in fact your own business owner or the CEO. Global trade, it's economics, so you need to understand what is happening in economics worldwide and locally, and how it affects your business. So all of this, you can see, you will be integrating the knowledge from these different knowledge areas as we move up into your integrated business strategy. Then you start with your dissertation in year 2. So you've basically got a year to get this done, maybe 10 months to a year, depending how quickly you are out of the starting blocks. And your dissertation is incredibly important. It carries a lot of credit for this qualification. You are allocated a supervisor who's a subject matter expert and or a methodology expert. This is your project. The supervisor is there to guide you and help you and to get you hopefully to a really good level. So they are there to support and guide and help, but it is your project, and ultimately it's up to you to drive the process. Your supervisor is not going to be running after you to say, you know, Annalene, where are you? Haven't sent me your revisions or your chapters. They're not going to be doing that. So it's up to you. Then you move on to management, accounting, and finance, which is your second part, and that focuses on corporate finance. How do you make decisions in a corporate environment? Because that's going to affect the whole business. So you need to be responsible and understand. So it's not as much looking at calculations, but you do need to know this, but the interpretation and the analysis of those figures and all of that as to into your business decisions. Very important module. Then the capstone module here is your integrated business strategy, where we take everything that you've learned and it's integrated into this module. And we are using a simulation here where you will be, again, it's group work. You'll be working in groups. We can track who's participated, who's not participating, when you've gone on and onto the platforms that we're using, and we look at your areas of leadership within this as well. So this is a very important part of your MBA, and it basically it runs over 6 months. It's one of those where you do a report as well as present to a panel. And the panel presentation is very important again because they are industry experts. They are people who are in the trenches. They know what's going on. So they know what questions to ask. And while it's a stimulating and fun thing, it's also fairly, I would say, nerve-wracking because these are experts. So there are academics and business people in there. And then we get to your electives, which you can choose from. You can choose to do both, which is always good. However, you only need to do one. And we have entrepreneurship and innovation, where we take you from the beginning of ideation. How do you get an idea of what you want to do? Where's the need? Is there a need? And we take you through, again, you're going to do a business plan, you're going to present to a panel, and you're going to look at, they're going to be asking you questions. They might be venture capitalists, they are entrepreneurs, so they know what is required, and again, what to be looking at and what questions to ask. And then we have our business in emerging markets, which is our international module. This is a fabulous, fun, great module. We look at the BRICS countries, and we are focusing on Brazil, Russia, India, China. We were supposed to go to Russia last year. Unfortunately, COVID hit us. So physically, we were not able to get there. However, we did carry on with the module. It was a virtual online experience. And those students from last year, we will be, depending how things pan out, we will still be going on a visit to Russia to get that immersion and cultural experience. However, there are alternatives, and we are working with partners who have been doing this all year anyway through COVID and consulting with businesses in emerging markets, which they've got really good results. So we will be giving you more information on the emerging markets and how it's going to work for this year. But if you're still coming into the programs, we will have sorted all of that by the time you get to be doing the business in emerging markets, which is really, it's a fantastic module. And when you speak to people who have been part of that module, the experience and the immersion it's priceless. It's really good. So those are, in a nutshell, the modules and how it's structured. If you'll obviously then chat to your program managers who will take you in depth, so you know exactly what you need to be registering when and how your journey is going to look. So they will help you structure everything more. So we're now looking at distance learning, and I've said online because at the moment our contact is being done via MS Teams online. So people are not going into campus at the moment, and we all know why, unfortunately. Both of these methods of learning are self-directed. You have a timetable, you have assessment plans, and your lecturers for contact learning will help you unpack what you need to have done by when. In your distance learning online, in your timetable, it's chunked into what needs to be, I want to say studied, but you need to be familiar with by when. Your lecturer is there to support you. For your distance learning distance learning online, you have regular live sessions with your classmates and your lecturer. You are expected to be there because they are compulsory, because that's where the learning and the magic happens. So you interact, you talk to each other. Your lecturer may, or your facilitator may have posed a question beforehand for you to answer. They give you detailed guidance on what is expected in your assessments, how you go about it. This is the time for you to ask questions with your people in your class who you then get to know, because that's where the sharing happens. So if I've got a question, chances are somebody else in the group has got the same question, then often it's answered and sorted there. So those are detailed and they are put into your study plan and your timetable. For the online lectures, you have a timetable, and again, they've been shortened, but it's intense. We expect you to be prepared so that you can add value to to those sessions and to your classmates. And the reason that we've said for the MBA, you need to have experience in work. We like you to have experience also for the postgrad, because directly you're applying what you're learning, you're sharing your experiences with your classmates, and that's where you get your value. So that's why we want you to have some experience so that you can share and people can gain from you. So both modes of learning have due performance requirements. You have participation on your online forum engagements. They are questions that are posted online for your distance learning online, and you are required to answer and debate these questions in an ongoing and specific manner to get your marks for that. And then for your contact learning, while you are doing the contact learning lectures online, your facilitators will be expecting you either to present or answer questions, and they will be looking at that for your due performance. So that in a short space of time is really what is expected from a module perspective and subjects, and then a short glimpse into how it goes about. And now I'd like to ask our alumni to come onto the line so we can get their experience. And James, they've been through this. They have their, I don't want to say battle scars, because it's not so. It's you've been there, done that. You've got your t-shirts, you sorted. So I'm going to start with ladies first. Don, tell us a little bit about your experiences, how you managed your time, your work, your personal interests, friends. What did you put in place to be successful? And you were very successful in this.
Thanks, Jane. Yeah, so everybody, I was a distance learning student. So I still worked full-time while I was doing the MBA part-time. I think one of the most important things for me, and I learned by trial and error, was really being quite disciplined about setting out with the course loads as they've been broken down, and really taking note of what needs to be done by when. So Milpark's great. They, as Jane mentioned earlier, they do break up the deadlines and the chunks of work that need to be done by when. And it was really important for me to stick to it. One of the most important things is staying up to date. It is quite a lot of information to work through, and with an MBA, I found the biggest part was the application, as Jane also mentioned, but you can't apply anything until you understand the work. So working through the coursework, reading the additional materials, reading the additional articles, participating in the group discussions, the debates, really helped me to work through the course load. What I did in the beginning is I thought I had it all covered, and I just made little notes in terms of the dates I needed to do things in a book. as the course load pace picks up, you realize that a lot of dates come together at the same time, or you thought you would get to something, but you haven't quite planned it accurately. So for me, adding things into my electronic diary became the only way to really keep track of everything. I think because I was also working full time while I was doing it, you know, your work has specific demands of you, and they don't necessarily align with the timing of your MBA demands. So finding the balance between the two is one of the biggest challenges, but it's something you just need to meticulously work out. And for me, it was also communicating with my workplace upfront. These are the dates where I really need to hunker down and I need to work on this. And then making a plan to work around it as far in advance as you can. I found, like I said, after a couple of niggly days where I had some online tests the same day as a massive project at work, but it happens, it's life. And I think one of the great things about studying part-time is it really teaches you balance. And I think in life, you never do one thing in isolation. You always have multiple factors needing your attention at the same time. So I've definitely learned to balance. And then just in terms of like personal life, mixing in between the MBA, it's a tight little line that you have to walk. Especially with a part-time, I think you know that you've got the biggest bulk of time to work on your study load on those beautiful public holidays or those lovely sunshiny weekends when you just want to take a break because you've had a long work day and a long work week. But that's really the best time to work and sit down and go through the course load. So just being completely open, I think, with your friends and family as well, and saying, listen, guys, the next 2 years, I love you, but I won't be seeing so much of you. And yeah, you have to make it a priority, and you'll catch up with everyone later. But yeah, that was my experience.
Great. And James, how did you start your...
Yeah, James. So I did my MBA starting out in a midlife crisis and realizing at age 50 that I've only got 13 years to forced retirement, and I felt age 63 was too young to retire. So instead of buying the Ferrari, I decided to do the MBA. I had a business strategy of where I wanted to go and the way I saw my future. So I had to sit down with my family. You know, fortunately, I don't have young children. My two daughters, the one was in matric at the time when I started. The other was already in varsity. So I didn't have the challenge of having to deal with small children. I have an awesome wife. We married 30 years this year, and you need the support of your family. You kind of need to understand is that family time doesn't exist. I did contact learning very much because my learning method is interactive. I need to talk and discuss in class what we are doing, and to do that you need to do preparation work. What you tend to find is that if you do your preparation, you have your lecturers climbing in to do so much more for you when you approach them because you've prepared for their class. They feel that you're actually taking their subject seriously. And if you bring your part, you'll find your lecturers phenomenally helpful, excessively so. I was one of 2 candidates accepted into the MBA program on recognition of prior learning. Evelyn gave me a hard time. I gave her a hard time. I was a bit bullying to try and get into this program. I didn't have time on my side. And fortunately, I was very, very happy to be accepted into this program. So this was my first experience of tackling a degree. My background having come through the trades and having worked up right through from ground levels and going to do GCC engineering route, and very, very distraught when MBA or when Milpark did not quite acknowledge the level of my previous recognitions. So very proud to be at Milpark, phenomenal institution. So I had to make a decision. I literally, no TV, 2 years. I cut out of family for 2 years. I said no weddings, no parties, no visiting for 2 years. I started going to classes in the week, the evenings, but I found that very, very hectic because of the distance I was staying from the school. So I was only getting home at 12 at night, having to get up at 4, 5 in the morning to get ready to go to work, have a long day at work, and then after work go to school in the evening again. And I found that by converting to a weekend class for me at the time, I was able to save up to 6 hours a week on traveling just by not having to deal with traffic in those hours. And time is very, very important, because the MBA is not difficult in that we are all intelligent people. It's challenging and difficult in terms of the workload and the amount of reading that you need to do. And the reading is where the education comes from. You'll find you get almost more knowledge and growth from all of that reading. But then you need to take it to class, and you need to discuss that with your peers in class. And this is where the lecturers facilitate. They're not there to give you class, they're there to facilitate the class, in my opinion, and to guide you in terms of the material. They give you everything in place to be able to do that. And the more you prepare for that class, and the more you're able to contribute to that class, and with your colleagues and the people that are there with you, the more you will get out of it, and the more everybody grows and learns. So it's very much a team sport if you're doing this course. Don't consider yourself as being an individual. Be involved with everybody. The group assignments, fortunately, I being the old man in the class and seemed to be the father that everybody came to when they had a problem, I was able to dominate certain aspects in saying, guys, when we have team assignments, that's number one. Family, church, everything. I'm not interested to take second place, because everybody's got video schedules. And if everybody's trying to accommodate their schedule, you'll never get together as a team for the syndicates. And I was very blessed with all 4 of my assignments. All the team members came together fully. Contributed fully. Everybody made time to get together. We never experienced any of the challenges that I appeared to hear from the other teams, simply by the fact is that everybody committed. The team comes first. You put everything else on hold. Once you got that in place and you've made the decision, you stick to it. Getting those team assignments done along with all your other assignments is a tremendous help. And then once again, your family's got to understand, and you better make sure you've got good communication. I used to take a Friday out usually just to spend some time with my wife, so we could sit and talk and go through stuff and just have some family time. But weekends was class time. In the week was work, and right night until 12 o'clock every night was reading and catching up and making sure I was prepared for the weekend classes. Yeah.
That's really it. And it takes discipline, and it seems like a long time when you're starting, am I right? And then suddenly it's done.
Well, it's exactly that. I think that when I started this course, I thought, good God, what have I put myself into? I hadn't been studying in over 14 years. I've got into studies directly. I did find that colleagues who had done the BBA route and then gone from there and moved on to the MBA route appeared to be a lot better prepared for the MBA and the workload and the course load, and the way things were done. So if you're thinking, should I do BBA and an MBA? Hindsight, I'd say, guys, tackle the BBA. Unfortunately, didn't have the finances to do both or time on my side, and that's why I bullied myself directly into the MBA. And I actually miss it. I miss the interaction. I miss the intellectual connections. I enjoy the online host that they bring in for the discussions. It's like there's a hole in my life at the moment.
We'll make a plan. We've got stuff happening, I'm sure. Suzanne, how did you manage from a distance learning perspective in terms of your group work and your syndicate work?
It's an interesting question. I think with distance learning, you are not as connected with the people in your team as you would be if you met them face to face. We tried to set up schedules and deadlines and break up the work for all the different projects. And in some cases, it worked really well. And in some group projects, it didn't work as well. And I think where it did work really well is where that level of commitment from all the team members came through. And it really is at the luck of the draw with the group project. I think especially with distance learning, although you interact with your classmates on different forums, because you don't see each other eye to eye, you don't really get to know their personalities, their strengths as much. And that's something you really discover as you work through the group projects. What we found was just if you plan your deadlines, work back your goals, your targets, and then for us, it was also really involving our lecturers where we could just to sort of be that line throughout the group. But I do find even in the challenging groups where it didn't work as seamlessly, it was also a lot of learning out of that, because in life we often dealt to work with people that aren't necessarily on the same page as you or as interested in the same projects as you. So if you're still able to achieve the goals from those projects, and you're able to find out a way to do that and work through that tough situation, it teaches you some important life skills over and above just the learning from the subjects.
And it is difficult, especially when your marks, in a way, when students are looking at marks, and that currency comes into play. So a last thought. So Suzanne, if you can tell us what impact has it made on you, and then just some last thoughts, and then we'll go to James on that.
Sure. So for me, I really did the MBA because I have a very keen interest in business and growing my knowledge. I'm in quite a creative job role, not the traditional sort of business type roles. I'm a buyer for a big retail group in South Africa. So in my field, people are usually creative types and not so much business types, but I like marrying the two. I think even if you're in the most creative role in the world, if you've got a good sense for commerce and business and money, you can turn the most creative idea into something really big and impactful. So for me, it really was just growing my knowledge base, because I knew that was the type of knowledge I wouldn't necessarily get from my work environment. What I found, even as I was doing it, I think it's one of the benefits of doing it part-time while you're working, is you can almost implement the skills as you go along. So I found that my thinking became much more strategic. I could think longer term better. I could think about the implementation of things, how it affects all the different parties. Unfortunately, just at the time I got my business degree, my MBA, 2 weeks later or 3 weeks after the graduation ceremony, we went into lockdown. And businesses and big corporates have all sort of put a promotion freeze or a hire freeze in place. So any upward movement in terms of the corporate ladder isn't happening right now, but the skills I have, I know are going to set me in good stead to do that. But yeah, just in my daily life, I find that I can think 8 steps ahead, where probably before I thought 3 steps ahead. And that makes all the difference.
Great. I like it. Some last thoughts?
So for me, as I said, it was part of my 20-year plan of where I wanted to go, plan from 50 to 70 to work, and wind down from age 63. So what I started doing is from the first course elements that I was doing, I was actually applying to my work environment that I was in. And I really wanted, I spent 20 years on the mines before joining the company, gas company, on a refrigerant side to do what I'm doing. And I joined them in a marketing portfolio. I was in that marketing role, various marketing roles for 5 years, and I loved it. And I got a substantial offer from the company to move across into operations because of my technical and background skills. And I was doing a lot of consulting internally in the company in that line. Once I ended up in there, I found myself stuff in a hole. I got discommuted from the national global world that I was enjoying, that I was globally known in the field. And the MBA was a stepping stone to get me out of that hole as part of my 20-year plan to get myself back into a business role so I can move back into the consulting field where I wanted to go to. Fortunately, before I completed my MBA, I was actually very successful in getting a role back into the marketing side of the business. As a product manager on chemicals and refrigerants, the two subjects that I'm passionate about, I enjoy the field, I understand the field. And what's been phenomenal is that I constantly take all the subjects, the social subjects from Dr. Devin Govender, the economics, the financial accounting. I use a tremendous amount in terms of what I do. And my feedback from my sales colleagues in the marketing line is that they haven't had this level of support before or guidance in terms of the product. So the MBA is really empowering me in my role to be able to be very effective in what I'm doing. The end goal basically being business for myself, but currently I am in corporate. And it's nice to have that accolade, my love language being words of affirmation, where I'm able to apply all of this knowledge that I've gained and very much in terms of the strategy and thinking forward and how to develop and put business in place. Applying the knowledge from the MBA, I've been able to have a massive impact on all the business areas that I've been involved in terms of making them more dynamic, making them more profitable, and growing the business. Even during the times of COVID, we've actually done quite well. And all of that is based on the foundation and the knowledge we picked up of the economics, the understanding economical climate, understanding social responsibility, understanding finances, understanding operations management, while still consult back into the business in those areas. The human resources elements, applying that knowledge gained from human resources into dealing and working with people and working with areas. It is definitely very, very empowering.
Good. That is such good news. So good to hear. So I'd like to thank you both for imparting. I think it's those experiences that you've got that you can through this platform, we can let other people know that, that hard work and slog for those years, it's worth it. But it's worth it from the get-go, which is exactly what we're wanting. And as Kobus said, the leadership that you both bring to your organizations and yourselves is fabulous. So thank you both very much. I'm sure we'll be seeing you on other platforms. We have plans for you, don't worry. So thank you so much. We really do appreciate that. And I'm going to ask Kobus to come back and to finish off and round off everything for us. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very good, very much. And to Suzanne and James, thank you from my side as well for sharing your stories. Storytelling is powerful. And I think it's extremely worthwhile to get firsthand sharing of a person's lived experience than what one often just sometimes read from text or from a web page or something to that effect. So, and we've all got our stories, and we really, really appreciate the fact that you've come today and also shared with us, and the key takeaways that we can, or that we can also take away from what you've shared with us. So I'm going to kind of wrap things up, and if we consider the choices, and we really hope that you will decide today to make us your growth, learning, development partner for the next season in your life. And if I can perhaps just highlight a few things to take away, that being to remember that we are the only AMBER accredited business school on the continent for both contact learning and online learning. We're also very proud of our 2020 PMR Africa ranking of being second overall, and we've got no reason to believe that we would go down on that ranking going forward. As a matter of fact, the only way now is up. We would argue that our curricula and syllabi is contemporary and it's relevant. It addresses the needs of the management practitioner and the leader of today. Therefore, our facilitators are also experienced. They come from industry. We feel that on the MBA level, academic purists, in other words, people who've just been in academia and didn't get their feet wet, so to speak, in industry, are not as close to things as the people that are in the trenches, and they bring those to the classroom. Hence our facilitators that are experienced and they come from industry. But as a matter of fact, even our current faculty, Jane, myself, Frikkie, Andries, all the others, we all have been to industry as well. That's where we come from. That's where we cut our teeth. So even the full-time faculty. And then we really endeavor and promote a learning environment that is growth producing for our students. And our approach is similar to what the Romans taught their children, that nothing could be learned while sitting down. Now, the meaning of that is just you need to engage more than just your head. You need to engage your heart and your hands, or the physical. Not that, it means that you pick up a shovel per se, but it's engaging all three modes of learning. And that is what we endeavor in the learning environment that we create for our students. And of course, for us as a team, our students are the focus in this teaching and learning transaction. It's because of our students that we are here, not the other way around. So that is just a few takeaways for you whilst you are reflecting and perhaps comparing us with other providers as well. And if I might just quickly, thank you for the questions that have been posed. If I might just quickly run through them. I see the first question has already disappeared, but I suspect it has been addressed. But it was about the difference between distance learning and distance learning online. And very quickly, perhaps, and it has already come out in the discussions in one way, shape, form, or the other, the old distance learning model was when you would receive your books and everything through the mail, and you'd kind of do your self-paced at your own time. You'd submit assignments. You would go to a particular venue to write examinations and so forth. But the online, and that's where this whole experience of being far away from the campus, anywhere on the planet, is on steroid, being put on steroids, in that online is the primary driver where everything takes place. And Jane alluded to the fact of the live sessions that take place, what we call synchronous, real time, and then also asynchronous in the forum discussions that takes place at any time of the day or the night as people become available. So that is essentially the main difference. But you are welcome if you would like to ask us to unpack that a little further. NOMSA has asked, what are the costs of the DBA, or the doctoral, and what's the duration? NOMSA, the DBA is a very, very intensive process where the time as a candidate is the candidacy time is minimum 2 years and maximum 4. However, in order to get to candidacy, one would spend at least a year, at least, in working on the proposal. And then the proposal needs to be defended. And it's only when one passes the proposal that one can progress to the candidacy phase. And from there on, it could take up to 4 years. The costs at the moment, if memory serves, but we can send you that. The proposal stage, or the proposal phase, is around, I think, 12,000 for the year, and candidacy is around 28,000 per annum. So that's just plus minus. But please, NOMSA, we will gladly make contact with you for more information in that regard. Thank you for that question. Tristan has asked, how has Milpark implemented lectures or tutorial changes due to the COVID-19 pandemic for online distance learning modes? Tristan, and perhaps very briefly, and I'm going to ask Jane to add on here if I've missed out anything, but remember, we've always had 2 modes. So we were at the point already very experienced with online education, and our online capabilities were, we would argue, best of class already at that stage. So we had the knowledge, everything that goes with it. It was taking our contact learning students at that time and transitioning them to this world that was already, that the online learning students were already accustomed to. So as far as the online side specifically was concerned, it was already online. So we didn't, in that instance, had to make any adjustments. It was the contact guys where we had to make the adjustments in order for them to then be exposed to the very similar experience as the online learning students. So Tristan, I hope that helped you. Jane, I don't know if you've got anything in addition to what I've said.
Yes, so with the contact moving to online lectures, we adopted MS Teams, and there we have the capabilities, and the lecturers had already been trained in online teaching as well. However, they had then further training and help done quickly in terms of we can do breakaway rooms, group discussions. So it's really an interactive experience for the contact learners who then are sitting at home doing the on, and everybody can talk and see each other. Hopefully, because they are expected to put their cameras on. So then you start seeing each other, which is quite good. And we have found we've got really good feedback initially where students were a bit hesitant and they were worried. They're quite happy. They coped really well, and the pass rates were good. And the lecturers also gave very positive feedback in terms of interaction and how happy they were with the success of the students per module.
Thank you very much, Jane. Colleagues, one last question we have here from Bongekile. Oh, it's, the question was, I'm almost done with my postgraduate diploma in financial planning. I need to know if it will qualify to do the MBA since the PG dip in financial planning. The short answer, Bongekile, is definitely yes for sure. So the minimum entry requirement is a postgraduate diploma or an honors degree, which in this instance is you would meet that requirement. So yes, and we look forward to have a chat with you regarding you joining the MBA journey. All right, then there's I think one more question there. When will the assessment be done?
That you book, so that if you book your assessment, the program managers will help you with that, but it's really done within a day, and it's an individual assessment that is done online. You get a key, you do it, you've got quite a fair amount of time, it's not timed. So, I mean, if you are in touch today, you could be doing your assessment tomorrow. Easy.
All right. Okay, colleagues, we're a little bit over time, but we really appreciate everyone sticking with us right through to the closure as the screen closes. So once again, from our side, from Jen and myself and the whole MBS team, thank you so much for your attendance this morning. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to engaging with you further. Take care, everyone. Stay healthy, and remember, tomorrow is beautiful. Thank you very much.